Good morning. My name is Jesse Levine, and I serve as Senior Advocacy Officer for Scholars at Risk. My organization works to protect threatened scholars and to advance the human rights that the higher education space needs to function, including academic freedom. The sector-wide attacks on Hungary's higher education space are well documented and represent stark illustrations of the degree to which universities become primary targets when authoritarianism takes hold. The case of Central European University remains one of the most well-known government-sanctioned attacks on a university in recent memory. In 2017, after years of populist smears from the Orbán government and its allies, the government passed legislation that subjected CEU, and CEU alone, to a series of onerous, arbitrary administrative burdens that essentially made it impossible for the university to continue operating in Hungary. Despite their efforts to remain in the country, CEU ultimately had no choice but to move most of its operations to Vienna, where it now operates. The Hungarian government has also taken direct aim at specific ideas, in particular gender studies, defunding and refusing to accredit degrees in the subject. Even though only 2 universities offered degrees in gender studies at the time, the government apparently found the subject a politically attractive target. Over time, the programs ended, lectures were canceled, and at least one professor was fired in connection with the ban. Finally, in some of the most sweeping legal pressures anywhere in recent years, the Orbán government has effectively seized control of much of Hungary's state university sector. This past April, Parliament signed a law transferring control over most of Hungary's public universities to private bodies that are subject to little public oversight and are populated with allies of Prime Minister Orbán. The law effectively transfers billions of euros in university assets and potentially operational control into the hands of these essentially unregulated bodies. And it virtually ensures that Orbán and his allies will retain this control, even if their party loses next year's election, by subjecting any future change in the policy to a 2/3 vote in Parliament. Worse yet, because university faculty will no longer be considered public sector employees, their academic tenure will no longer be secured. Non-academic partisan boards will potentially have the power to terminate scholars at will, for teaching or publishing controversial ideas, or even for no reason at all. Together, these cases tell a clear story. The Orbán-led government has made universities a key front in its fight for illiberal democracy. The goal is a state where democratic values and university values, like the search for truth, debate, and dialogue, always lose out to raw political power. If the government is allowed to remake universities in that image, it won't just be universities that will suffer. It will be the entire society. We therefore ask states to urge Hungary to restore academic freedom, guarantee university autonomy, and ensure that scholars and students are free to think, learn, and share ideas. I invite you to review our detailed written recommendations and reach out to SAR with any comments or questions.